Daniel Corey, coming at you from Danger Cat Central, and I'd like to welcome you to episode 5 of Makers, where I speak with artists who make and shape culture. This week's guest is musician, activist, and photographer Justin Emord. Hey, Justin.
How's it going? Good to talk to you again.
Yeah, man, I'm glad to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, yeah, man, so according to Justin's bio on the NAMM website, Justin is a music education advocate and bassist for the band Love in a 38. Receiving his first sponsorship in 2006, Justin has been playing in bands and touring for over 10 years. Since joining Love in a 38, he's shared the stage with bands such as Rival Sons, Marilyn Manson, Bad Religion, Black Label Society, and Motley Crue. Justin is currently sponsored by Fender Guitars, Taylor Guitars, GHS Strings, and much more, because we're going to get into that. I know he's got a ton of sponsorships. So without further ado, Justin Emord, welcome to Makers. Where are you right now? How are you doing?
I am clearly on the Death Star right now.
Good for
so
you.
I am away from COVID. I'm away from everything, social distancing up here on the bridge of my battle station.
Pulling it down for the rest of us, man. Good for you. So, yeah, we first met a couple of years ago. I know you guys we have a common friend in Alex Calise, and Alex is one of my favorite all-time people. And her band Bat Farm played a show with you guys at the Viper Room. That was the first time I saw Love in a 38. And I know I saw you guys play at NAMM, and then there was that place in Tarzana. I think it was the first time we spoke in person. Yeah, that was a killer midnight show. It was about a year and a half ago, I guess. But
yeah.
Killer midnight
Pea's
show.
Place. No, it wasn't Pea's Place. It was Maui Sugar Mill.
There you go. Yeah, Maui Sugar Mill. And that was such a cool place because the stage is right there, and everybody was just packed in right up against the stage, and you guys were just so loud. It was that was a killer show on Saturday night, man.
Yeah.
That was fun. And that was the first time we got to talk. And I remember at that time, I think you had just come back from Sacramento.
Yeah.
To do some of your advocacy work. So, and we'll get into that in more detail in just a little bit. But first thing, I want to jump in and ask you the first question that I ask to all of my guests on this show. What sort of art do you make, and what do you think is your role in shaping culture at large?
It's a good question. So I am a musician. I'm a bass player. And my role, I feel personally, especially in this band, is, to represent rock and roll. It's kind of a dying, unpopular art. Mm-hmm. And, I want to make sure it sticks around. It's an incredible genre of music that's just so large and encompassing in different subgenres and stuff, mm-hmm. that it's just, there's nothing like a live rock and roll show. I've been to plenty of other shows in different genres, and I love it. I love live music. Mm-hmm. When I started playing music, and we'll obviously get into that when we get to the advocacy stuff, mm-hmm. but I started in concert band playing jazz. So mm-hmm. my background and things I like musically are pretty large. Yeah. But there's just nothing like rock and roll. There's just such this kinetic, frenetic energy between a band and an audience. Mm-hmm. And that just can't go away. Yeah. It's and it's so rock and roll. It just goes hand in hand with kind of a rebellion and kind of and there's something about rock and roll that might be perceived as being kind of fast and easy, but at the same time it's very deep and spiritual. Yeah. Yeah. And especially when you look at different movements that the Clash was a part of, that mm-hmm. John Lennon was a part of. Rock and roll's got its fingerprints in a lot of different parts of history.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, just by being a rock and roll artist, you are certainly a maker, and you certainly are touching culture in many ways. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you mentioned about playing in jazz band and stuff, but just can you tell me about your music origin story?
Yeah, so I started as a piano player, actually. That's something not a lot of people know about. I started on piano, and that was in 4th grade when my school got a music teacher. Mm-hmm. And I did that for basically 8 years. I did that from 4th grade to 12th grade. Mm-hmm. Along the way, I picked up guitar and bass. And so in the different bands, I was I had my fingers in every single aspect of the music department at my school. So in different bands, I was playing different stuff. So like I was the bass player for the concert band because then this, I think it was a Chinese like prodigy started coming up through our system. So when he was eligible to join band, they're like, well, we don't really need two piano players. You can play other instruments. We're gonna give him piano, and then we'll give you like the trombone part or something. You can play bass. So that's what I did. And I played bass, and then I played guitar in jazz band. And so I was kind of just doing a bunch of different things throughout, and just really taking in and consuming as much information and knowledge about music that I could from whatever position I was in, whatever genre I was playing.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
So you, so it was motivated by school. Your education system really got you into the diversity of playing different instruments, and sounds like your concert band, your jazz band. So you're already getting those styles. And when did you start in rock and roll?
That was, so there's two answers to that.
Okay.
The first answer is third grade when I heard the Beatles for the first time.
Yeah.
And that just changed my world. I wasn't obviously a musician back then, but like I was just like, what is this? So I was really into that.
Yeah.
But then when I was in 11th grade, I saw the Trans-Siberian Orchestra perform in Madison Square Garden. And that was just like what is this?
Yeah.
And I went out and bought recording software like a week after I came back home from New York. And the rest is basically just went the way it is.
Cool. So, how about Love and 38? How did you guys, where'd you guys come from? How'd you form?
So I am actually the second string bass player for Love and 38. Daniel McGuffey was the first bass player. And I'm currently actually in a band with him and Ryan. So we can obviously talk about that later.
Okay.
But the band formed, they were doing their thing. I was actually playing with a different band in Hollywood at the time. And we would play the Whiskey a lot. Love and 38 was always the Roxy band. So they would play at the Roxy down the street. And we'd be playing like headlining gigs, different venues on the same night. So I got to know them because I always saw their posters when our posters were up. And I followed them. I was like, this is like a cool rock and roll, like Zeppelin, AC/DC, GNR type of thing. The sound's obviously changed and evolved over time because that's what musicians do. But I just really liked their sound. I thought it was just raw, just four on the floor rock and roll. Les Paul through a Marshall type of thing. And once my band kind of fizzled out, I was at NAMM looking around at gear. And I just finished up doing a signing for one of my sponsors at the time. And they were at the next booth over just looking at some stuff. And we talked, and like a week later I auditioned. And like a week after that, I was in Arizona doing my first gig with them. So things just went like really quick with them.
Yeah, cool. And I've met Ryan as well, and he's a real nice guy, and he's got the pipes, man.
Yeah, he's a really good singer.
He can sing, man. He's just like, you don't meet a lot of guys that have that rock and roll styling down. He's not just like a guy with a good voice who sings in a rock band. He sounds like a rock and roll singer. Yeah, absolutely. So you guys did some touring in Europe last year.
Yeah.
So tell me about that. You went to Sweden?
Yeah, we toured Sweden for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It was so cool. It was my first international. Well, we actually went to Canada for a week, a month before that. So that was technically my first international experience as a musician.
Yeah.
But that was like my first overseas type of experience, and it was amazing. Like I grew up listening to a lot of Swede rock. So it was cool to actually see some posters of bands like when I was first starting out doing the rock thing in Hollywood, seeing these posters of bands that not necessarily influenced me, but like put some type of impact on me at an early start in my journey in music. So like this is kind of cool, like seeing where those bands used to play and now I'm playing these places.
Cool. Who are some of the bands, the Swede bands that you liked?
So back in the day, there was a band called Veins of Jenna. They actually went from Sweden. They came to America, and they broke a little bit. They were popular with like Bam Margera's circle. So they would always be on like his TV shows and stuff for MTV.
Okay.
Crash Diet, Backyard Babies, Hardcore Superstar, all those type of bands. I was super into that, and seeing their posters around was really, really cool.
Cool. And so, how did that opportunity come up for the international travel? Did your music kind of just break over there, or?
Well, so when you get your stat sheets back from like iTunes and stuff, like you can see the demographic, like where your things are. And since the band's beginning, it's always been more popular in the UK. We've always just had a better hit rate over there. But we got some friends, band called Warner Drive and Bullets and Octane. They share a couple of band members. And the drummer of that band has basically been like their DIY hustler for booking shows. And he was like, dude, like we should get you over here. Like you do really well. And so we went, and it was amazing.
Cool. All right. So like how many shows did you play?
Oh man. We played like almost every day, I think. Just different city every single day. It was amazing. It was a lot of fun.
Sounds like it.
A lot of cheeseburgers. They love their cheeseburgers over there.
Oh, interesting. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's cool. And how do they prefer them cooked? Do they like them, rare, medium?
Drowned in sauce is the way they like them.
Oh, okay. So ketchup or what kind of like?
No, it's like some type of like mayo or aioli sauce.
Oh, okay.
Just every single club, it's like that.
Interesting. Okay. I guess you remember back to Pulp Fiction. They were talking about mayonnaise and fries, I guess. But
yeah,
interesting. Okay, that's cool. So, Love and 38's new single is "Love Me, Hurt Me." It's available on all platforms right
everywhere.
now. Yeah. So, tell me about that song, the genesis of that song, and what are plans? Is there a new album in the offing?
So Kiss Me, Hurt Me started as a jam with me, Ryan, and Domo. And the whole idea of it was just like, it was actually nicknamed Thorogood for a long time because that kind of thing that Domo does at the beginning with that chord is just like a very George Thorogood type of vibe, was it one bourbon, one shot, one beer type of thing was kind of like the reference point for that song.
Cool.
So it kind of just started from there, and Ryan did his thing, I did my thing, and we came up with this really cool idea for a song. And then we got Clark in the room, and he did his thing, and we got this really cool song. And we're really happy with it. We debuted it in Sweden, and people over there just loved it. It was just like, it's a really high energy song. So when you get a bunch of people in a crowd and you got that type of swing and that type of groove going, people move to it.
Cool. Excellent. And did you and this is like the first single for the new album? Is there a new album?
So the plan is we're going to be putting out an EP at some point. We haven't decided yet just because of everything going on with COVID. But the plan is we are going to be putting out a couple of singles here throughout the end of the year. And then we're going to package them all together and do like a whole big thing.
All right, cool, man. Well, I hope I hope everybody gets back to playing live for too long. I don't know. Do you think it'll be as soon as next summer, or do you think it's gonna be later than that?
I hope it's next summer. I'm going crazy not being able to play live. This is the longest dry spell I've had musically, probably ever, possibly.
Yeah. I read it might have been on a Facebook post that you did, but you said you said something about it's the first time in, was it 13 years?
13 years, yeah.
Yeah, you had gone so many months without playing anywhere.
It's weird, especially the beginning of this year was when me and Ryan's side project started getting busy and started working on getting these songs ready to record. So it was like I had two bands firing, and one band was recording, the other one was in like pre-production stage, and then the whole world fell apart. It was like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, I know. I mean, the beginning of the year was great for me too. I was making a lot of great contacts and getting a lot of great content for the site here, and just kind of just entering the music world in a way that I hadn't previously. And
Yeah.
yeah, it all kind of it came to a standstill. But now I've started doing this, and I feel like I'm connecting again a little more. So I'm starting to feel a little better about it. But
Yeah.
I can't wait to be able to start going over, to the Roxy Whiskey, wherever,
Yeah.
start seeing shows again, man. It's
Especially for 38, like when this all happened, we just headlined NAM, and that was an amazing night. Like that was so much fun for us.
yeah,
And so to not be able to play a show right after that, like that's such a high to experience. And then
hmm
like there's not even a bottom. Like you're just
yeah,
free falling like one of those really bad dreams.
yeah. I saw you guys play NAM last year, and it was in the Hilton,
Yep.
where you guys played. Yeah, and I know. And can you just explain for anybody who doesn't know what NAM is? Can you just tell them what NAM is?
Yeah, NAM is a winter wonderland for musicians.
hmm
All the companies, Fender, Gibson, Marshall, Pro Audio, Mike, DJ, they all get together and show off all their new products for the upcoming year. And they have a live concert series. They have presentations and seminars for producers, engineers, for musicians, for retailers, so that everyone in the industry can hopefully in the new year learn a couple of things and get better for the upcoming year. And they have a live concert series, and Love in 38 has been fortunate enough to be part of that for the last 3 years.
Nice. Yeah, it's for a lot of people that I know would to relate it to them, it's like Comic-Con for music.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well said.
Um, yeah, and there's a lot of live music happening, and like you guys playing there, and there's just, and even if you just walk the convention floor, I mean, booths have people playing gigs at the booth.
Yeah, they do booth demos and stuff.
You're just always going to see somebody playing. I remember last year was the first time I went to a full show, and I got to see Freddie Johnston at the I think it was at the Audio Technica. No, it was right next to Audio Technica, but I forget which. Sennheiser. It's the
Okay.
Sennheiser booth. But yeah, Freddie Johnston played at the Sennheiser booth. And it's like his that song Bad Reputation, like my wife got me that CD for a birthday back when we were dating back in 1996,
Yeah.
And so it was like, oh my gosh, Freddie Johnston's here. I didn't think I'd ever see him,
Yeah.
So it was really cool. But yeah, no, it's an amazing time, and it's very sad because the Summer NAMM was canceled, and now
Yeah, and then Winter NAM got canceled.
Winter NAMM's coming. It's January. It's too soon, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's
Um,
absolutely the right thing to do. But for
yeah,
us, it's really unfortunate that we don't get to come together again.
yeah. Maybe they'll come
Especially
back
this
at
time of
some
year, I'm
point.
usually like up to my neck in like presentation, like
Mhm.
PowerPoint constructions and assembling my teams and getting our set together. It's like, what do you mean I'm not like losing sleep over stress right now? I mean, I still am. It's just a
Yeah.
different type of stress. It's not music and NAM.
Yeah. It's not over the fun stuff.
It's not the fun stress.
Right, exactly. So, now, kind of staying in that realm, sort of, I know you are like the king of brand endorsements. Like, there's no disputing your royalty and the realm of brand endorsements. So, first of all, let my viewers know what a brand endorsement means to a musician, and then just tell us about some of the myriad companies that you work with.
Yeah, so a brand endorsee is basically your job is essentially a glorified, really cool salesperson. It is your job to use a product, love the product, and then promote the product. You talk about it, you put the company in your liner notes on your CDs, you make gear posts when they send you new stuff,
Mhm.
and you just talk about it to let people know without a shadow of a doubt that you and them, you got you got a ring on with this company.
Mhm.
Um, and you build a relationship and you promote them and then they promote you, and that's been really great, especially with this single and the way things are without shows. Having them around right now to help us promote the single has been fantastic.
Mhm. Cool. Yeah, I remember. Like, I've seen some of your posts. Like, I think it might have been when you were going to Sweden last year. Like, Fender came through with with an effects unit or something that you really,
Yeah.
and you posted about that.
Yeah, I got a fly rig for that, and then I didn't really have any TSA approved cases for that tour, and obviously when you're flying international, you need TSA approved cases.
Oh, interesting.
And I'm with Gator cases, so they came through for us too.
Wonderful. So, who are some of the other companies? So you're with Fender, and you're Taylor, and GHS, and Gator, and who else are you with?
So I am with EMG Pickups, I am with Hip Shot Products, I'm with Graphtech Guitar Labs, I am with Stage Ninja Cables, I am with Stage Clicks Wireless Units, Temple Audio Boards, I am with Voodoo Labs Power Supplies, Rocktron Pedals, Maxon Pedals, Ashdown Amps and Pedals. There's got to be another one in there. Oh, Vocalese throat sprays. They're fantastic. I love them.
Wow.
They do throat sprays, lip balms. They do a bunch of stuff for like the wellness of your voice. Especially when it comes to NAMM, it is such a godsend to have them around because all you're doing for 4 days is just
the air in that
talking your head off.
Yeah, the air in that convention center is particularly bad. I mean, I
Yeah.
remember being just on the first day in there, and I'm going around the floor interviewing people. On the first day, I'm like, oh, I'm feeling sick, you know.
Yeah.
Everybody calls it the Namthrax.
Yeah, I don't think that's what we got this year.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I know. Like, you know, I would always get sick going to Comic-Con or WonderCon or any of these other comic shows. But there's something about NAMM that's extra special. I don't know what it is. It is extra. You get really sick when you go to NAMM.
I think it's because it's a little bit more international than some of the other ones.
Maybe. Yeah. But back on with the endorsements, it's very impressive that you got all of those. And and you know, just so everybody knows, not every musician has that many. Justin is exceptionally good at this, and dealing with these companies. So on that line, what advice do you have for musicians that are up and coming, or maybe looking to make music on national scene? What advice do you have concerning endorsements? And say am I eyeing a brand like Fender? Or what would I do?
Well, first off, the most important thing is approach the brands that you're using. Don't go hit up like 17 different string companies and see if someone says yes. Talk to the companies you're actually into. And if it's not the time yet, then it's not the time yet. Work towards it. That's always the first thing I say. Be authentic and true to yourself about who you like. Don't just try and get a deal to get a deal.
Yeah.
That's not fun. When you actually work with companies you love and care about because you're really into the product, it makes everything so much better and so much easier for you.
Cool. And you know, you would approach a certain executive, like which at any company, like who is it you would approach?
You would be looking for their artist relations or marketing department.
Okay, all right. And you would probably connect it, like NAMM would be a good place to connect.
Yeah, NAMM's a really good place. I would say probably well over 90% of my deals came from NAMM.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And then there's been a handful that have happened just like throughout the year. But most of the time I make contacts at NAMM and then the deal happens afterwards.
Cool. Interesting. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Aspiring musicians, make note. So now you were recently accepted into a rather exclusive organization, and it's I was pretty impressed to see that. And you posted about it very recently, so it's very new.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
So I'm part of the Grammys now. They they accepted me back in July. And it's amazing. I actually met part of the Los Angeles team in Sacramento doing advocacy work. And they're like, we should talk about trying to make you a member. And so I went through the whole process. I did the applications and submissions, and they emailed me in July. They're like, you're in. And I fell out of bed just like, wait, what? Like, that's amazing. And they had said that they wanted me to be a member because I was already doing advocacy work, and that's a big component of the Recording Academy these days, is they also do advocacy work for like musicians' rights. so the fact that I was already doing this very specific thing that they also really put a lot of effort into was a really good stepping stone for me to actually get my foot in the door.
Mm-hmm.
And then they made me a member, and it's been incredible. COVID hasn't been easy for musicians. Like, there's a limit to what we can do right now without shows and tours. So it's like you do your music, you put it out, and then that's pretty much it. There's not that extra step of being able to really get it out in front of people physically. Like, everything's virtually right now.
Mm-hmm.
So to have the Grammys accept me, especially during this time, that was really good for like my own well-being and sanity. Just like, oh, a really, really cool music thing just happened in the middle of this pandemic where I can't really be musically awesome. So I was really, really thankful for that little bright light in the middle of all this. And it's been great. We've had meetings with Congress for like relief packages for musicians that are, obviously we're all unemployed right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been lobbying and getting funding for musicians for COVID relief. And just like, Save Our Stages, getting funding for that. So it's been really cool that just immediately I've been thrown into the deep end with them and just, okay, advocacy work. And then I voted for the Grammys already. I put my first ballot in. So that was pretty cool. Spoiler alert, I voted for The Mandalorian. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say it now. That's where my vote went.
Oh, so like for soundtrack and
yeah,
and all this. Yeah, cool. Yeah, before the call here, we had a big Star Wars discussion. We geeked out on Mandalorian quite a bit. But who are some of the? Is it the same composer for all the episodes, or do they have a few?
Yeah, Ludwig Göransson was he's in charge of the music for the entire show, season 1, season 2. So I put my vote in for him, and obviously John Williams got my other vote for a soundtrack because he's the god.
Yeah,
No one can write a better soundtrack than John Williams.
He's had a little practice, a little experience.
A little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah. Cool, man. Cool. That's pretty amazing. I do a lot of work in transcription, and for it's been a few years now, but a couple of years ago, I did a lot of work with the Grammy Foundation for they would have artist interviews for their archives, and they send them over to me, and I expedite them and get them transcribed and send them over and send them back over, and they were really nice. I liked working with them a lot. So
yeah, they're really good people. I can't say enough good things about them. They've just been really great and warm and welcoming, and the post you were referencing, they made this video. They did this whole pandemic themed live discussion panel with Youngblood and Lizzie Hale, and they asked Grammy members to submit videos of like, what do you miss most about being on tour? What's your favorite venue you look forward to going back to? And they selected my video to be part of their member testimonial part of the live stream. So it was cool to be watching this, and like, Youngblood's an amazing musician. He's great, and Hailstorm is just an amazing band. I love them. So it was cool hearing them just talking back and forth, and then all of a sudden there's my face and my name and the Grammy logo. Was like, that's awesome.
Yeah, man, that's very impressive. It's very cool, but you've done a lot of hard work and earned it. I know. Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little more about your advocacy, advocating for music education. And obviously music education is what made you.
Yeah, and that's why I'm so passionate about it. It comes from real world experience and knowing that I had lessons when I was a kid from a musician in the condo complex that I grew up in. And it just didn't really stick. Like, I understood, I could comprehend and understand music, but I wasn't into it. It just wasn't fun for me. I wanted to do other stuff. And it took my music teacher in elementary to really be like, okay, like, first thing when I get home, I'm doing my homework, studying for tests, and then whenever I'm done with that, the first thing I'm doing is I'm getting on my keyboard because I enjoy this now. So something just happened that I just really enjoyed it, and I liked it. and I stuck with it, and I made like the pep band in school. Like, it didn't even exist before me, and I was like, nope, we're doing this. Like, the government teacher wants to do it, so like, we're doing this. And we created like a pep band, and I went to a very small school, so it wasn't like very difficult to do all this stuff, because our high school band was, I think, maybe 20 people. It wasn't big at all. But it was that passion and excitement for music that started and was created in the classroom that translated to wanting to do that for a living. And that was also the other part of singing Trans-Siberian Orchestra. It was like, you could do this. Like, I didn't know you could do this with music, and just like, you know, the pyros, and just like how incredibly talented all the musicians were. It was just sensory overload. So like, when you put that together with the passion and excitement I had for music from schooling, it was like, no, this is what I'm doing when I get out of here. So for me, it's like, I know there's other kids out there that wouldn't do well in the one-on-one, and the classroom is actually the catalyst for them. So that's really who I do all this for. I do it for the kids like me that have the ability and capacity for music, but for some reason that one-on-one just doesn't click.
Cool. Yeah, there's a story I told on the last show I did with my friends in the band Kiev F. I went to a really small school also. You know, from junior high to high school, I hopped schools, and you know, the school didn't have a band program. I played in band in junior high. I played alto sax, and that was my first instrument. And I started taking piano lessons, you know, in the middle of that. But when I went to high school, they didn't really have any kind of music programs, but they started a choir, and they required everybody basically to be in the choir, you know, and so all these boys were like, I'm not going to sing, you know, or suddenly being forced to sing. And like, I'm there, and there's like all the jocks from the soccer team and all that are all in the choir, and they all loved it. You know, they're like, singing, I can sing. Everybody was just like, wow, I can sing and make music suddenly. Like, you know, from the first time we all sat down in this class and teacher started playing, we all started singing, you know, like she picked like some mamas and papas songs and some stuff that was kind of cool, you know, stuff we had heard from our parents. And we're sitting here singing this in a group. We're like, hey, this is fun, you know? So yeah, it was that experience you had. That's how I first learned how to sing. I was forced, and it was in an education setting, and it's one of the best things that ever happened to me. So.
And I mean, obviously, like, there's tons of studies too that just show you the actual positive benefits of music for, you know, your brain, and just the way it helps you in, you know, all your other studies. And that's obviously like the main driving force behind the advocacy messages when we're with NAMM or CMEA. Doing our stuff in Washington or Sacramento. But, you know, all that's fine and well, and I obviously stand by that too, but that transition into a career and the understanding is pretty much why they bring me along, because I've got just a different side of it that I can bring to these politicians.
Yeah, cool.
It's still really weird.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen me in a picture in like a political office, but it's still strange. I've been doing this for 5 years, and it's still strange.
I've seen you in the suit in Sacramento. I've seen the pictures. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a good time. That unfortunately was canceled this year too because of COVID. COVID hit like shortly before that trip, so it was like, I don't know, 3 weeks notice that it got canceled. It was like, damn, like I like doing this now.
Yeah. Well, it's going to come back, man. You're going to do it again. You will. You absolutely will. And you're going to be very needed. When it does,
especially after all this.
Yeah, we need to recover, and we need to get the kids back into the band rooms.
Yeah,
you know, for sure. Back into the choir. You know.
Yep.
For sure. Cool, man. Well, thank you for doing that, by the way, because it's like you're doing an important work, you know, for the future. You know, you're keeping music alive.
Yeah.
So thank you for that work, man. It's very important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's funny. I did it the first year I was involved. I ended up in Sacramento and Washington, basically back-to-back weeks. And, you know, you never know how anything like this is going to go because I didn't go to school for government. You know, I vote like a normal citizen.
Hmm.
But for the most part, that's pretty much been the extent of my government
Yeah.
work, I guess,
Yeah.
if you can even call that. It's really a
Involvement.
duty than
Yeah.
anything. But um, that's pretty much it. Like, you know, I took political science classes because that was what you had to do at a graduate college.
Hmm.
But I just never really thought life would put me down this path.
Hmm.
And lucky for me, I was a communications major in college. So it was like, oh, speeches. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can do this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was one of my, yeah, I had a couple of degrees, but like one of them was in communications. And it's amazing how valuable that degree, really becomes. I know back in the 90s when I went to college, I don't know if this is still the thing, but there was this whole thing about communications. Yeah, there
It's
was
still
something.
a thing.
It's still a thing. Okay, that's unfortunate that like everybody kind of turns their nose up when they hear that somebody's a communications major, and it's like, the company I worked for a while, I was interviewing and hiring people, and so I got that perspective of being an employer, and communications is a very broad swath. I call it the get a job major now.
Yeah,
You know,
you can do
you
so
can,
much with that degree.
you can get so many different types of jobs. And like really, any degree is valuable. But like
Yeah,
communications is a thing that it cues into so many particular disciplines, so many different industries that I mean, it's like, I can do this, I can run my own website and write articles, but I also work in transcription, and I work with some major networks and stuff doing that. I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't have this communications degree and background and all that.
yeah.
So for any kids out there that are trying to maybe somebody's giving them a hard time.
Don't knock it till you try it.
Yeah, exactly right. Communications is a good major to have.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And any college degree is good. I met a girl once who she had a master's in archaeology, and she's like, yeah, I can't do anything with that. I'm like, dude, stop that right now. You have a master's degree. If you
yeah,
came to my company and interviewed, obviously you would have a master's degree, and I would probably hire you.
yeah,
Yeah, I know. And something like archaeology is not a real common thing, but like what I do in the transcription, a lot of general knowledge. If you have a lot of general knowledge about history, whatever, it's going to make you a good transcriptionist. You
yeah.
know. So yeah, anybody that can, if you can go to school, pick a don't let anybody ever give you a hard time about your major. Just
No.
yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I've done interviews. I went to Cal State Northridge, and after I did DC, they actually brought me in for an interview for their newspaper to talk about, basically just doing like a CSUN propaganda thing. Like, oh, so you deal in politics now? How did we set you up for that? It's like, okay, I'll play along.
Yeah.
But they actually interviewed one of my favorite teachers from that time and talked to him and like, hey, so one of your students is a musician and he's doing like political things now, and it was cool to see them interview him about me being interviewed by them, like this whole thing. And it's cool. I see him at NAMA because he's a musician too, and that's part of why me and him clicked so much in college, was we had that common ground and appreciation of music. So it was always cool to catch up with him and see him on the convention floor.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah. It's an education like that lays the foundation for so many things that you end up doing in your life. So
Yeah.
So yeah,
Even if you don't know what it's going to be.
Yeah. I'm still figuring it out as I go, but have a lot of skills to fall back on, I guess.
Yeah.
So speaking of other skills, you're also a photographer, and so I've been seeing a lot of beautiful like twilight, astral photography, lately, and you've been doing well in some competitions and stuff. So tell me about your love of photography and what you're doing there.
Yeah, well, my love of photography started because, as I'm sure you know, my mom's a photographer.
Mm-hmm.
So just growing up, I was always around cameras.
Mm-hmm.
And I took classes in college just to get my GED credits out of the way. Obviously killed those classes, like did really good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but again, it was still kind of like music. Like I knew how to do it, but I just still wasn't really like super interested. And I went to Japan a couple years ago with some friends, and that like just made the world a difference. Just a country as beautiful and picturesque as that, like it's a living, breathing, moving like postcard. Like it's so gorgeous there. Like you cannot be a bad photographer when everything around you is as gorgeous as Japan is.
Yeah.
So I just felt like when I was there, like I brought my camera because I was just like, this is the first time I've left the country. So like I want to take pictures and remember this trip. Not knowing how much I would like fall in love with Japan and the culture and the people there. But I took a bunch of photos, and when I was taking the photos, like I was just trying hard to take good photos because I felt like the scenery and everything deserves my best effort.
Yeah.
And I came home and I was like, damn, like I got some pretty good photos.
Yeah.
And that kind of just started this whole thing that I'm in now. So it's been going 2 years of just taking photos and, you know, taking my camera everywhere. You know, when we were in Canada and Sweden, I had my camera. So like if we weren't on stage, I was outside wandering the streets trying to find cool things to take photos of.
Cool.
And yeah, especially during this pandemic. Like I said, musicians, like there's somewhat of a glass ceiling on how far we can go right now, you know, especially being like a local band. No one's getting signed. There's, you know, really no deals happening right now. So there's kind of a cap right now on how far you can go. You know, you can obviously still stay busy, and we're keeping busy, but as far as like the business side of it, there's limitations right now for us musicians. And photography right now, it's just not changed. Like my workflow hasn't changed. Like I go take my photos, I edit them, I put them in my web store. You know, like that hasn't changed or been affected by the pandemic. So through this whole thing, I've been just taking photos, and especially at the beginning when the safer at home orders were a little bit more strict, the air quality here in LA was just like amazing. You can go outside, you can breathe, and you know, not choke. So like I like shooting cityscapes and landscapes a lot. That's my jam. That's what I like to do. So especially when the air was so clean, it was like I got to take advantage of this. Like I got to go shoot downtown and shoot buildings while there's no smog. So I did that, and you know, especially being the Star Wars fan that I am, I've always wanted to do astrophotography because I think it's just so cool what you can do with the stars. And you know, when you're in the studio and you know, working a regular schedule outside of this pandemic, you can't really do that a whole lot because prime shooting for that's going to be, you know, 2, 3, 4 in the morning. And, you know, if you got a long day of recording, or you know, if I got to be in a school the next day at 8 a.m., I'm not going to be out shooting at 4 in the morning because you got to drive. You know, nowhere near Los Angeles you can really do that type of stuff. So I just took it upon myself as like, you know, while we got all this downtime and I'm not able to create as much musically, I'm going to take this time and do some really cool photography work and, you know, take a couple of overnight trips and, you know, go places. And so I went to Joshua Tree, and that was just an incredible experience.
Yeah, I've seen some of those photos. They're gorgeous. They're very, very beautiful photos. So cool, man. But, you know, it's like you adjust the situation, you keep making art the way you can, you know? And
it's been cool because, like, especially when we went to Joshua Tree, shortly following that, my side project, The Pride, we were getting ready to start recording. And something about being out there in the middle of the night shooting the stars just set my brain off in such a different way because I've never shot anything like that. So like your brain has to adjust to like, okay, what am I doing? What are my camera settings? How do I, you know, all your different compensations. So I just came back and like my brain was just in a different place after shooting that. And I felt like the basslines I ended up recording for The Pride were even thought of differently than maybe I would have gone about the whole process before Joshua Tree. So it's cool. Like the two artists are kind of feeding each other right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. That's cool, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's almost like an ancient connection to, like, being out under the stars and just staring up at the to a sky that doesn't have light pollution.
Yeah.
It's like, you think back thousands of years, at these monks, that's all they did. They would just
Yeah.
sit there and contemplate the stars, and they would just expand to their thinking. And when you connect with a little of that, it really does activate some of that right brain abstract thinking. And yeah, it can help.
And I also equate it to, when you're at a gym, when you're allowed to do that again, you have days where you work on your arms and you work on your legs, and overall that makes the exercises better when you're targeting different things.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way I feel about photography right now. Like, when I've got this other creative muscle to flex, it makes my music muscles a little bit stronger than they would have been without that.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
I know. Andy Summers, who's the guitarist for the Police, he's a photographer, and
oh, he's great.
Yeah, I saw him downtown a few years ago, and it was a solo show, and the entire show was behind him was a slideshow of black and white photos that he'd taken all over the world from the last 30 years, and there's hundreds of photos. And his thinking is a lot about like how what you're talking about. He started taking photos when he was on tour with the Police. It was kind of like, I'm out in the world. I got to look at it this way.
Yeah.
It was, and if you there's a documentary. It's on Hulu, I think, called "Can't Stand Losing You," and it's an adaptation of his autobiography. And I'd recommend anybody to watch that. And he talks about his photography in that.
I think Fender even a couple of years ago did like a black and white guitar of his photography. Like, it was printed on the guitar.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, I know he likes to. He plays. He plays a lot of Fender. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know when I saw him, he had this nice butterscotch blonde telly, and he said, "They just sent this to me. I like it a lot."
Fender's good people. They're really good people.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no, I'm obviously a big fan. So
yeah.
Cool. All right, man. Well, tell us where to find you and find Love and 38 online.
Yeah, so you can find us at www.loveand38music.com, and that's the numerical 38 music. From there, you can find everything. We've got hyperlinks to our YouTube, our Facebook, our Instagram. All of that can be found there. And then you can also find the Pride at Follow the Pride.
Cool. All right. So now to close out today, I'm going to give you a little challenge.
Okay.
Since we're a maker, multidisciplinary, I'd like to challenge you in the next few days. If you have a chance to make a unique, special, creative moment, if you want to, I'd love it if you would share it with me, share it with our audience here. So it could be a photograph or a small bit of audio or video. Just if you happen on something neat and new you want to share, send it over and I'll post it for my audience.
Okay.
So have that in mind.
Challenge accepted.
Yes. All right. Cool, man. Well, Justin Emord of Love and 38, of the Pride, of Music Advocacy, of the Recording Academy, of photography, award-winning photography. Thank you for being on Makers today. And man, I look forward to more things, more music from you, and more visual art as well. So thank you for coming on, man.
It was good seeing you, Daniel. I can't wait to see you in person again.
I know it, man. Hopefully, maybe Summer NAMM or something. I don't know. We'll see.
I will absolutely go out to Summer NAMM if there's a Summer NAMM this year. I need to get my fix.
Yeah, I know. All right, man. Well, I'll catch you around town. All right. Take care.
Sounds good, man. Take care.
Bye-bye.